Hello, everyone. Welcome back to ALECA Talks, where we meet with leaders for a sustainable future. Today, we welcome Becky Glover on the podcast. Welcome, Becky.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be on the podcast. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, cheers. It was nice to meet you the other day. Thank you for responding. Becky is currently the CFO at Mazuma, a UK-based accounting firm. I really like your motto, by the way, on LinkedIn. Don't worry, we've got this.
Yeah,
exactly. I think that's a great one. It's a great opening line for you. Obviously, you entered the profession quite young, at 17, I believe, when finance roles were quite narrow and clearly defined, and you have watched this discipline broaden. And I think that's something interesting we'd like to talk about today, into something almost unrecognizable where everything falls on the shoulders of the finance team. That evolution from number crunching to covering like technology, human capital, ESG, sustainability, and probably more in the future is one thing that you've observed and you've kind of actively embraced, I feel. Your career spans, the leadership across multiple organizations, even 5 years running your own wine business. We'll get into that. Spoiler alert, she has a wine business in the past, which was awesome. And now a senior role at Mazuma. So maybe to get started, what did finance kind of look like back when you entered at the age of, at the edge of 17, to quote Stevie Nicks? How different is it now?
I know, it feels like an absolute lifetime ago, and things have changed so much, so I guess it's right to feel like it was such a long time ago. So the role that I was doing even just a few years ago, really, it wasn't that long ago, was quite, I wouldn't say pigeonholed, but narrow. I think, as you described it, is really a really good way of describing it. So you were in finance, you were doing finance work, you cared about the numbers, you were mostly historical looking as well. So the month would end, you would then go back, report on that month, pass it to whoever you were passing it to. All the time, the next month was carrying on, and then you'd wait for that month to end, you'd go back and you would report on those numbers. So yeah, it was a finance role, as most people, I think, would actually think a finance role would be. So if you went to, the normal person in the street and said, what do you think a CFO does, or what do you think a finance professional does, they would probably go, well, the numbers, rightly so. But actually now, when you delve into a lot of finance professionals' jobs and their actual day-to-day, yes, the numbers are a core part of that, as they should be in all businesses, but there's a lot more to it, as you touched on. There's the human capital, there's the ESG, there's the technology, there's the strategy. There's so much more than a finance professional is now supposed to be sort of in control of, or certainly have a bit of a hold over. So I personally really like it now. I think a broad role is really exciting. But I know that there are some people who think finance should just be finance. So yeah, it's a really changing profession at the moment. It's really interesting.
Would you feel that like a general person would find it more rewarding in a way when there's a more breadth to the role, and there's a room to grow within that profession?
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's more purpose now. Maybe that's just my own opinion, but when I was just working in a finance, numbers-based role, you're kind of just pushing one number from one spreadsheet to another number in another spreadsheet. You don't really get the why quite as much. But when you're looking at a bigger, broader role, and maybe you're getting involved in more of the ESG side of it, or the human capital side of it, and making sure people are happy, you get more purpose from that. And so it can be a more purpose-driven role, which, going back to that kind of normal person in the street, I don't think they would think that a finance professional would have that sort of good feeling of, ticking that box of purpose in their day-to-day role, but I definitely have a sense of purpose in my role, and I can see a way actually of my role continuing to evolve and making sure I have more and more purpose and impact largely.
All right. So what drew you to? I know you've worked a lot, and we'll get to the wine thing in a minute. But what drew you to Mazuma?
Yeah, so Mazuma serves SME businesses, so that's small and medium enterprises. So not your kind of big companies, so not anything like your BPs or your Shells or your Walmarts or your Tesco or any massive company. That is not who our ICP is. We serve small businesses, so owner managed, some people call it, your mom and pop businesses, and actually I think because of that, that is part of the purpose sort of drive, right? Because you're helping family run smaller businesses where maybe they don't have someone internal in finance, so we are the finance touch point for them, and we take away all of that stress of compliance, of bookkeeping, of anything that surrounds their numbers. So I think that was really important to me because the SMEs are the backbone of the economy, especially in the UK. So that was really important to me, but also it had a tech element to it. And I've always worked in a tech environment or a tech-led business. So the fact that we are serving these small and medium-sized enterprises with technology at its core really spoke to me. It's a growing company. We're kind of fast-paced. It's very cool. So yeah, it ticked a lot of boxes.
Cool. That's nice to hear that you found someplace that can be rewarding, challenge you. It must be nice for everyone in a sense in the accounting space to not be pigeonholed or to not have a narrow view, but to really look at all aspects and how you influence. So to find that purpose, I think it's a much more rewarding space now.
Yeah, definitely. And you can see the impact you're having faster now because you give some information, help a client, whatever it might be, and then their decisions are made based on that information, so their business can grow faster. Whatever their goal is, really, it might not be growth, it might be the fact they want to take more time off to have more time with their kids or whatever it is. Everything now happens a lot faster, and because we've got technology at the core of our business, we can give those numbers to those people faster, and so they can make better decisions with it. So it really does work, and what we're doing at Mazuma is quite different to other businesses because yes, we're a service-based business, we are accountants, but actually we're a technology company as well because we are creating the tech that makes this happen seamlessly.
Yeah, very nice. So you've embraced that aspect of it as well, the technology piece. Also, what happens is we talked last time. I know you work quite closely with the ACCA. What is that? The Association of Chartered Certified Accountants.
Yeah, that's it.
And you had talked about the trends and some of the statistics. I think it was quite a big number of people were interviewed for this, but you said 70% of finance professionals want roles that make a social impact.
Yeah.
And I think that talks to how broad, how much the role has expanded, and you want to be part of that decision-making process. So what were your thoughts on that? I mean, do you see that at Mazuma as well, where everybody wants to have a bit more of a social impact?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so as you said, I sit on the ACCA's Financial Services Sector Panel, and every year the ACCA releases a global report, a trends report, because the ACCA is a global organisation, a qualification and membership body for Chartered Certified Accountants. So yeah, this is a really great report because they get data from thousands upon thousands of individuals. So the fact that came out at such a big number, 70%, when I was reading the report, my jaw kind of dropped. I was like, wow, because I know I feel that way and I know others that do, but to have it globally sort of black and white laid out like that was quite amazing. And I think a lot of the time people just want someone in finance to come in to do the numbers. They don't also realize what impact those numbers can have on a business and on social impact. So yeah, it was surprising to me to see the big number, but actually it's not that surprising knowing how I feel about having an impact at work. And I do think, I know maybe I'm biased, but I do think accountants are in the right place to have that social impact, because they do see so much now within a business. They can make calls about how best to make that impact work for other people. So yeah, I think it's really exciting, and I, for one, can't wait to see more of that impact actually coming through, because obviously it was 70% of people want to have that impact, but I don't know what
the opportunity or not.
Yeah, I don't know what percentage of people actually feel fulfilled in that way. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing that moving into the sort of higher numbers as well. But yeah,
I read also somewhere, sorry to cut you off there, Becky, but I read also somewhere, I'm excited. You got me excited. You got me thinking. I also read that there are some burnout rates amongst finance leaders, right? It runs pretty high as a profession. And you wonder if going from that narrow numbers only to having more of a remit, having more, being responsible for more, is that leading to more burnout, or is it the fact that people are expecting things instantly? We're an instant generation of people that want a solution yesterday. What do you think is leading to that burnout?
I think both, to be honest. I think you've hit the nail on the head there. It's been really quick transition between finance people doing the numbers to people doing so much more. You know, when we train, so I did 2 qualifications. So I trained for 6 years. So when you're training for 6 years, you don't touch on any of that. Like, none of that are in your exams. You know, you sit down, you do a 3-hour exam, you pass, you fail, but all of that is on the numbers, the kind of technical accounting. None of it is on ESG or, you know, human capital, anything like that. So we're all learning as we go, which is hugely rewarding, but can also feel quite stressful, because certainly when you're in a senior finance position, people do expect you to get it and get it quite quickly, which is why, you know, a great network helps in that. But yeah, I think that is one of the reasons for burnout. I think people are expecting a lot more of finance professionals, rightly or wrongly. I'm just saying that's the fact. And as you say, they want it so quickly. They think the technology can do so much, which it can, so they want these decisions really fast, which is perfect. But when you pile all of the other stuff on as well, it's really tricky. I think also naturally when the economy goes through a bit of a tougher time, accountants do sometimes bear the brunt of that, because accountants can only control so much, but actually business leaders really want the accountant to give them good news, and if it's not good news, it can, you know, sometimes feel like it's a little bit personal. So yeah, it's a tough one. I think we're going to have to do more work on that going forwards to make sure that our, you know, accountants are sort of looked after and get that purpose and get that impact that they're looking for, to try and, you know, fill up their cup a little more, and burn out less.
Yeah, definitely. I think all professional industries are seeing it. You know, the introduction of new technology, whether it's AI or software, or the speed that people expect things. There's speed, there's breadth of responsibility, there's the human need to do meaningful work.
Yeah.
How do you lead? You know, you're one of the leaders now at Mazuma. You're the chief financial officer, and you're heading up a fairly large team. How do you lead in an organization to really deliver for what the clients want, but also to ensure that each of your members, each of your contributors are maximized, the value of what they can maximize?
Yeah, and you could have the best business idea in the world, but if you don't have great people there to deliver that and happy people, I think on some level the clients always know if your staff are miserable. Like there's just something that comes through, and then the clients aren't happy, even if they're being delivered perfectly fine work. There's some sort of human to human sense that they know if those employees are happy or not. So everything has to sort of revolve around those employees. And also, like, whilst we have technology in place, like, our staff are our biggest cost. So if you even just look at it from a purely balance sheet position, we would be silly to discount the happiness of our people, because if they all left, or if they were not very good at their jobs, whatever, that would be a bad investment decision to be having that as the largest cost on our P&L. So for me personally, I know everyone's leadership style is different, but for me personally, I like to treat everyone as differently as I can. Obviously, there are set rules, and you have to, have precedent of how people are treated. But I think looking at individuals and saying you are all individuals, you all want slightly different things, and trying to be flexible in that is the way that you can have the best relationship with your team. But it all comes down to trust. I massively trust the people that I work with, and I hope they trust me as well. And trust that every day that they get up, they want to do a really good day's work, but also trust that everyone's human, and there will be good days, there will be bad days, there will be days where they're probably not so productive, and days where they absolutely smash it out of the park. But you have to go with those peaks and troughs of individuals, and we're not looking to hire a team of robots, so naturally you have to go with that. But I actually always ask my team, which I don't think a lot of other leaders do, I always ask my team, what more do you need from me? So when I have one-to-ones with my team, that could be me chasing down work and going, where are we with this, the sort of traditional leadership style. But actually I come at it of the sort of direction of, okay, so this is what we've got on. What more do you need from me to get that to where it needs to be? What can I do for you? So I think that is a different way of leading people, because I have the ability to unblock things for those individuals that they don't do themselves. So yeah, I hope everyone enjoys working with me as a leader. I mean, I haven't had any negative feedback so far, so.
Well, yeah, no, that's a good sign. That's a good sign. Or they're all scared of you, one or the other, right? But
Definitely not.
I don't think they're scared of you. I don't think that's the case. So you said you take, all these exams, 6 years to get your certified accountant.
Yeah.
And all these things, but none of it is like into that emotional intelligence space, right?
Yeah.
It's always a challenge to brush up your skills, and it's a lifelong journey actually to get skills in emotional intelligence. What do you do? Do you read? Do you watch videos? Are you a Simon Sinek fan? What do you do? What do you do to sharpen your skills in your people management space?
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes from experience, being around lots of different people, and some of that just comes with time, right? I didn't come out of school at 17 and was the, people leader I am today. I don't think that is reasonable to expect, but I always like to try and put myself in someone else's shoes. I'm constantly thinking, well, how does this look to them? And obviously there are still difficult conversations that have to happen, and that is just the way that work will always be. But I think there's always empathy that can be delivered, even if there's a difficult conversation. So that's the main thing that I do. But yeah, I am an avid podcast listener, book reader. I get through so much content. Actually one of my favorite books is Surrounded by Idiots. That is the most fantastic book, and for those people listening that haven't read the book, definitely do, but as a sort of short intro into it, just to get people interested, it's all about the 4 colours. So red, yellow, blue and green. So it's saying that everyone in this world is a colour, or a slight mixture of colours, but to generalise, just say one colour. So you go through this book, and you're naturally, as you're reading it, kind of self-diagnosing yourself with a colour. But what it does is it gives sort of really great scenarios of a yellow person in this situation would do X, Y, and Z. So you're instantly putting yourself in that work situation and going, oh, I bet that's so and so. And then it also says like the best way of talking to that person and the worst way of talking to that person. So naturally, then after reading that book, you go into a room and you're kind of like, I wonder if I can quickly guess the colours of these people. And then you adapt your style, right? Because you want to get the best out of these people. And I think a lot of that came for me actually well before I read that book. When I used to be an auditor, we were picked up and dropped in clients, every week, different client, and you had to really hit the ground running. Most people do not enjoy the company of an auditor, it has to be said. And so, you're there to find what's wrong, or you're there to, dob them in for something that they've done wrong to their boss, or whatever their viewpoint of an auditor is. And you're always put in the most awful room with the, air conditioning right up high so you get out quickly. But actually,
we have all the tricks, to make you stay as limited as possible.
Exactly. But what that taught me was actually you have to adapt yourself to other people, because you weren't there to be their friend, and you had a job to do, but you could make it as pleasant as possible for yourself and the other people in the room. So that taught me quite quickly to try and read other people, and try and understand where they were coming from, and to get the best out of those individuals. Because, if you're working with someone for a week on audit and they don't want you there, they think that you're there to spy on them or whatever. Actually, if you can be really kind to them and really empathetic and kind of say, listen, I know this isn't pleasant for you, but let's try and get through this together. I'll do my best to make it as enjoyable as possible experience for you, and you both get what you then need from that experience. And that taught me quite a lot of empathy at that stage, and how to adapt my professional style to a different environment quite quickly. Those sort of 4.5 years, however long I was an auditor, were certainly some of the toughest years of being an accountant. There were deadlines, there were costs to be met, and that sort of stuff. But what it taught me on a human to human level will always stay with me. And actually now I look back on it and think, God, what a great grounding for my career that was. That getting to that, like you've had that human interaction. Of course, auditing, you always find different things. It doesn't matter who you are, you're always going to find discrepancies. So that's the job. But the interaction with people, do you feel that with, obviously there's a whole conversation around AI, technology, the fact that we do a lot more remotely. Do you think that technology is going to lead to the next generation of accountants not having that skill set? What are your thoughts? Are we going to miss something? Yeah, so I love technology. Like, I absolutely adore it. I'm all for it. I'm one of these people that just jump straight in, 2 feet in, and just give it a go. And if it works, great. If it doesn't, who cares? Move on, I know some other people have a bit more of a cautious attitude to technology, but I absolutely love it. But the reason I love it is because it allows me to be more human. So I can automate things with technology. The technology can do all of the kind of mundane tasks, and that then frees me up to have that sort of human to human interaction. Even yesterday I was in London doing lots of different meetings with lots of different people, and the conversation was, wow, isn't it amazing that we're actually having this conversation face to face? So many people now just hide on a Teams call or whatever, and it's it's so important to have that human to human interaction, because that's where the trust comes from. People do business with people. Ultimately, there's a lot of businesses out there that are doing the same thing, and the real differentiator is who's behind that business name or the big business tagline, the actual individual that you place your trust in, especially when it's a service based industry, as accounting is. So I would like to see the next kind of generation coming through absolutely embracing technology for what it is, but then using that time to be more human, be more empathetic, getting out and about, having real conversations with people. Because I think that's where the good stuff happens. Like, that's where the value really is. And I think that's what's missing a lot of the time. So hopefully, I'm not that hopeful that it will happen like that, because I think people see that as quite a lot of effort to do when they could sit at home in their pajamas, just doing Teams calls or whatever. But yeah, certainly for more junior members of staff, I think that's how they're going to climb that career ladder faster.
Okay, good to hear it, because I think, yeah, you're right, staying at home and having calls any time of day. It can be midnight, 2 in the morning. Often I'm based in Kuala Lumpur. I'm calling Darnell at 2 in the morning.
Yeah.
Same for him. So yeah, that we're interacting, but it's online, and it's a different feeling. You don't get the subtleties of people. And it was nice to hear that. Oh, isn't it amazing that we can actually talk to each other face to face?
Yeah.
And meet people. That's it's rare nowadays. But how do you build trust? Yeah, people do business with people, so we need to make that connection a lot more. I want to get into your wine business a little bit.
Yeah.
I know you let it go. You moved on, but why don't you tell me, how did you manage to do it? Because you remained a full accountant during that time, and you ran this business. Why don't you walk me through your typical days there when you started this business? Well, first tell the listeners what the business was.
Yeah, so the business was an e-commerce business, but we specialised in English and Welsh wine, which a lot of people will go, what? England make wine or grow grapes and make wine? That seems crazy. But actually, if you were to see the heat that we're having this summer, you would understand we can absolutely ripen grapes here in the UK. And actually, we've got some amazing award-winning wines. So it came from a bit of a passion project. I loved English wine. I didn't think it was accessible enough for the ordinary consumer. This was in 2019. So yeah, the website was set up. So buying directly from the vineyard, who in effect they are farmers. So negotiating with farmers who sometimes have good harvests, sometimes have bad harvests, or in the wine trade you would call it a good vintage or a bad vintage, and then selling direct to the consumer, and then also we did a little bit of restaurants, farm shops, selling into that sort of environment as well. So a little bit of B2B, but it was mostly B2C. And I absolutely loved it. So we ran it for 5 years alongside, I was a finance director for a technology startup at the same time. And to be honest, the only reason I could do both was because I really lent into technology automation. Everything that could be automated, any bit of tech that could be used was used. I mean, don't get me wrong, I was still, up early in the morning working on it, and, working on it late at night as well. So it wasn't completely automated end to end where I could just, drink lovely wine and the rest would do itself. Still a lot of hard work involved. But yeah, we did that for 5 years, and then 2 years ago now, so 2024, we sold it. So we exited at that point. Business is still doing really well today. Actually, I ordered from them last week, so that was lovely. Got some lovely wines delivered to my house. I booked them for an event I'm doing next week as well in London, so they're coming to that. So the business sort of connection is still there, and I'm absolutely a massive champion of them and that business now. So yeah, it taught me so much. I can't even explain like how much running your own business teaches you. But again, the thing that I really loved about it, obviously the wine was delicious, but it goes back to that human connection again. These were farmers who were up at 2 o'clock in the morning with little burners, so that frost didn't kill their little baby grapes before they even developed. They were out all day in the midday sun harvesting everything by hand. They were, everything about these vineyards in the UK is what a small business does best. Every member of the family was involved. The kids were posting on the social media platform for them. Maybe the mum was updating their website. The dad was by hand fixing the fences. Everything about it was just absolutely hard work for them, but this beautiful idyllic family run businesses. So buying from people like that, where you had a really good connection with them, was amazing. And then being able to sort of harness their story and sell it on to a consumer to help them understand like where these beautiful bottles of wine have come from, these boutique small vineyards in the UK, where so much love and care has been poured into that one bottle. Like, that was wonderful to give that story on then to the consumer as well. So
that is a great story.
It was a great 5 years.
Thank you for sharing that. So getting to what ALECA does best here with ESG reporting, sustainability reporting, we always promote amongst the SMEs, buy local. Buy local. I mean, it's so important, and it's a great story. Your local producers of wine right there, in the UK, they have a great story. Buy from them, and you'll be supporting a local business owner. It's a good product. It's international quality. It's international standards. But it's buy local. That's an important. How would you see, the sustainability space within the context of your finance remit, but obviously broader? But how do you see sustainability reporting, ESG reporting, emissions auditing, the S, the social, the G, the governance? Mm-hmm. What do you see going forward with respect to what you're going to do as a finance leader?
Yeah, so at the moment, certainly in the UK, I know people will be listening to this all over the world, but certainly in the UK, it's only for the very largest companies that have this kind of mandatory reporting. Don't get me wrong, there are other businesses in the UK that then choose to formally report on it or just track it themselves. So, some businesses sign up to something called B Corp, or there are other, ESG type certifications that businesses want to do, which I, from a sort of business leadership point of view, think is crucial, actually, that people show that they're interested in this, because, well, it is crucial. You can be in the UK now, we're having the most amazing heat wave, but that heat for a prolonged period of time, if you think about it, is a negative thing. And actually what it does, and I was reading lots of reports on this recently, is if, even as a SME, smaller business, if you show to the wider environment that actually this matters to you, it's easier to recruit people, because they go, do you know what, these business owners, these business leaders, they actually care. They're not just there to come in, do the work, go home again. Like, they care about the wider impact of their business. So I want to work for someone like that. It helps retain staff as well, because naturally, caring for what they care about all helps to keep them loyal. And it signals as well to like-minded suppliers, customers, that they're doing business with the right kind of people, which again goes back to what we've spoken about already. People do business with people, and there has to be a level of trust involved. I think all of this just signals that at a really micro level that people might not realise. You bundle it up as something like B Corp, and I'm just saying B Corp because I think most people know that sort of logo on products. So I think actually, whilst a lot of businesses don't have to do it, I think it's really quite important that they do think about doing it at the very least, starting to talk about it. A lot of businesses are super passionate about this, but they never talk about it. It's never in their marketing materials. They never talk about it at a recruitment stage, just because they kind of just don't see it as another sort of asset to the business. But I do think in the next year, maybe 2 years, where more businesses get involved with it and more businesses are open about the importance of it, individuals, whether they're a consumer, another supplier, an employee, whatever, will start demanding it and start voting with their feet, actually. And it goes back to kind of buy local, right? If someone starts to buy local and they really enjoy it, they never go back to buying this massive brand again, because why would they actually get better value for money for buying local, and they get that nice warm fuzzy feeling in their heart. That kind of emotive thing you just can't get rid of. So I think as more and more businesses do it, people will just expect it. They'll go, okay, so where's your ESG report? Like, show me that you care, show me that you're having a positive impact. And if they go, oh, we don't do that, they'll go, oh, okay, well, that's not what I'm looking for then. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that personally. I think it's really important for me as a consumer. So I know it's important for lots of others, and that then drip feeds into their business activities as well. So yeah, I'm looking forward to when that becomes the norm, to be honest.
Okay, well, I'm happy to hear it. And yes, you're like the new generation of consumers, right? Consumers are now flipping packages over. They're looking, where is it made? Is it locally made? What's in this thing that I'm buying? Yeah. I think it's a trend that's not going away. And being transparent about your sustainability practices. Every SME has one. I mean, we deal with a lot of SMEs now, and they are all energy efficient. They do everything they can to reduce their energy use, because that's a capital cost. Yeah. So by being extremely capital efficient, they're actually energy efficient. Yeah. And their emissions are low. And finding staff, retaining staff, that's a critical piece for a small business that only has less than 10 employees. Mm-hmm. So it's critical to retain employees and to follow the rules. You don't have, your governance it's like a suit of armor. By putting together a proper sustainability story and an ESG story, it's your suit of armor, because you're showing everyone what you're doing. Transparency. It may not be perfect. No company is. But it's to show you the lay of the land. So thank you for that. I appreciate it. Hey, we're coming near the end here. It was great. You gave me so many sound bites. I'm going to look up your book, Surrounded by Idiots. I like it. I'm going to look for it. I do read. I like Simon Sinek, Start With Why, and a few other books. But those are classic ones. But this one here I'm going to take a look for. People buy from people. People deal with people. Business is built on trust. Getting back to that, you're not afraid of technology. Everyone's worried about their jobs with AI, but I think you're just going to become more efficient, and you're going to be more human. That was a great way to put it. Wow, so much more. I thank you, Becky. It's been a great conversation. Yeah. You're welcome, and I thank everyone listening at ALECA Talks, where we talk to leaders like Becky for a sustainable future, and we'll see you next time on the podcast. Ciao for now.
Bye.